This week, we cover car news from the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, discuss the brand new Buick Regal Sportback, and answer your questions. Next on Talking Cars. Welcome back to another episode. I'm John Lincove.
I'm Ryan Pizlakowski.
And I'm Mike Monticello.
And as some Talking Cars regulars know, we're doing this weekly, so we want you to check back with us every week for a new episode. And for new people to Talking Cars, thanks for joining us. This is an interesting time of year because there's always been a new auto show, the Detroit Auto Show, but it actually has one that's supplanted it in a way, the Consumer Electronics Show. That always used to be about computers, tech, etc. And now it's increasingly about cars. And this week we've had a lot of news come out of there. A lot of stuff about EVs, Ryan. First off, the Kia Niro EV. Kia's got this car that they say is going to compete with the Bolt, mileage-wise. What do you think the future is really going to be for vehicles like this? What do you think we're going to see? Are we going to see the mileage? Are we going to see an uptick in sales, or is it really still niche-y?
For me, it really comes down to if we can charge these batteries faster and they can last longer. Aside from that, a lot of this stuff seems far out.
I think that, what CES is showing this year is that electric cars are here for sure. And autonomous cars, that's the sexy thing to talk about. Are we allowed to say sexy? I don't know.
I think it's sexy.
Okay.
We're bringing sexy to the electric vehicle.
What I think we're also finding out is, what they say, 238 miles of range for this Niro. Right?
Yeah, proposed.
And what it's showing is, this is a concept at this point, but what it's showing is the days of 100-mile range on electric cars. That's over. You can't even come out with electric cars. If it only has 100 miles, whoops, hope that thing's. Don't even bother if it only has 100 miles of range.
Right. Range anxiety is slowly going
exactly.
away.
So that's what we're learning.
What's interesting with that is that the Niro is similar to the Hyundai Ioniq. And that electric version is only 124-mile range. It has a much smaller battery, 28 kilowatt hours versus 68 for the Niro. So interesting that even within a similar, same company, Hyundai and Kia never want to admit it, but they're both owned by Hyundai. That they have such different range.
Right.
One of the interesting things I see with this is the Niro has, because it's silent, it's electric, so it's going to have a lot of pedestrian warning systems, a lot of beeps and noises and flashing lights to tell people in urban environments, don't walk in front of me, I'm here, because they're all going to be down on their phones. Another thing, and so Ryan, you touched on it as far as the types of batteries, is that Fisker, company that had a very, some say sexy, I think it was ugly.
It's a little aggressive in styling,
Exactly, a number of years ago, and it just never took off. They sold a couple thousand, they crashed and burned with a battery maker, etc. Well, they're back, and they're going to use what they call a solid-state battery, which promises to pack a lot of power into a small space.
Right.
Do you think that has something? Do you think the Fisker has more legs given its styling and its price and its sex appeal?
Well, yeah, it's glamorous looking. It's also $130,000, I think, was the base price tag. I don't think
gull-wing doors. You get gull-wing doors.
Yeah, so it's extreme. But they stated though that I don't think they're going to be using a lithium battery at first, and then the solid state will come in at some point. What they're claiming is you can charge way faster and get more mileage, and that is the holy grail in terms of a good electric car. It's got to charge fast and it's got to go far.
Right. It has to replace gasoline.
Right.
Exactly.
They're saying 2.5 times the energy density of a lithium-ion battery,
Right.
And so what that means is it will be able to have a longer range, and maybe even more important, it'll charge faster. They're saying, we'll charge within about the time that you'd fill your gas tank. Right. But the question is, are they talking from fully empty? What are we talking here?
Sure.
Are we talking just putting in
there's parameters for
50 miles of range, or what's this minute that they're talking about?
I think that the third big thing is if it's smaller. That's huge. If we can pack more energy into a smaller space. That's...
They're saying is, similar size to lithium-ion, if not smaller, 400-mile range with the lithium-ion. In 5 years, they're going to have the solid state. Now, I think back to the last director of the facility here who had a saying about batteries. He said there's 3 great liars in the world. There's good liars, there's bad liars, there's battery engineers. And, nothing against Fisker or Kia or whomever.
Right.
There's a lot of promises. We've been hearing, there's been promises since the turn of the last century about battery technology.
I believe it when I see it.
Well, especially with the Fisker. Look, we tested one, back in 2012. and it wasn't a great car.
Right.
I mean,
they look great.
They did
to some.
They did, yeah, and not to you apparently.
to me.
And this new one looks, I think, even better. And it has these, like we talked about, the butterfly doors. You know, all 4 doors open kind of in a cool way.
Yeah.
But you know, Fisker's kind of famous at this point now for not
the wrong reasons,
the goods. You know, so
I think we've given them enough time. We'll wait until they come out.
Everybody deserves a second chance.
They give a second chance, right?
You're a
at
good
a first
person,
impression. Very good.
Given.
Another company, Byton, is a Chinese company. They have the Byton EV, which they claim 2 versions, 250-mile range and a 325-mile range. But Mike, they have a huge part of the vehicle which is very, very interesting inside.
I mean, so look, we thought that Tesla had a big screen with its 17-inch, you know, infotainment screen coming down
it's
the
like
center.
twice the size of this.
Right. So this Byton has a 49-inch screen. I mean, you know, the whole
insane.
inside of the car is a screen.
Across the
basically.
I didn't believe it. I had to go look and really.
Yeah.
Plus an 8-inch touchscreen in the steering wheel.
Yeah.
Right.
It's kind of crazy. But they have an office apparently in Silicon Valley. They're saying they're gonna have their, you know, this is a brand new car company, and they're saying they're gonna have their first car they're gonna be selling in China in 2019, and they're gonna be selling in the U.S. sometime after that. They haven't said when. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
You know, we'll see. Again, this is another one of those we'll see things.
It's a kitchen sink car because it's got all the buzzwords. It's got limited self-driving level 3. It'll have level 4 at some point. It's got the touch screen. It has
better drive itself with that screen there. That's
Right.
distracting. My God.
It's like a day trader
It's
car.
insane.
You know, it's perfect. You know, it's got all you have all your screens up. It's got Amazon Alexa, integration. It seems
It's insane.
just like last year we had Faraday Future, the year before Faraday came out, it all sounds very pie in the sky. I mean, and it's not just because it's a Chinese company. You know, we talk about Fisker with pie in the sky. You know, until we have established vehicles, you know, coming out on a regular basis, it all sounds great, and it all sounds like it's trying to get money from investors. I'll believe it when I really see it rolling.
I like that at least they're talking about a $45,000 starting price. You know, at $45,000, that's reasonably affordable.
That's a good point.
We're not talking $130,000, whatever, you know, the Fisker is. This theoretically will be a car that a lot of people can afford. You know, so
absolutely.
That does kind of lead into another part of the CES coverage. Augmented reality and integrated systems. Because all the cars now, they're going to connect with your watch, they're going to connect with your phone, Amazon Alexa. One of the things that was shown is kind of like a modern Harry Potter sorting hat. Nissan came out with it. I need you to explain it to me.
Well, I don't understand it myself, but it's Nissan brain-to-vehicle technology, I think is what they call it. And basically, what they're doing is it can read your brain signals, and it's supposed to make the drive more exciting and more enjoyable.
Through stimulation? Through pulses?
I just want to drive the car. You
Yeah,
know? I
this
mean,
is
so
insane.
This is we're really getting out there now, and I'm not sure how smart this really is. But then I'm not very smart, so what do I know? So
well, that's okay. That's all right. So it'll be kind of
This
like
is literally a
empty
cap you wear on your head.
augmented reality is.
Yeah, it's like a strap or something you wear.
Do we
a
need
strap,
augmented reality in the car though? That's what I.
Well, you know, and that is a question, you know, because a lot of the augmented reality is going to project an image on the screen. You know,
Yeah, some of it will be for safety.
I mean.
Some of it will be for safety.
Right. You know, and it'll show warnings or it'll tell
Don't
you what's
hit this
coming
animal
around the
that's
corner.
coming up, right?
True, but there's also the potential of like Taco Bell has an ad, or you know, Hilton Hotel, or you know, whatever it is, you know, or just restaurant, hotel. Oh, stop in here and buy something because I already know from connecting to your smartwatch that you're really into bicycles, and they have that on sale, John, and you should go in and get it because you know you got money in your pocket, and that's a whole other worry, particularly because we're not going to have fully autonomous driving.
Right.
For a
Well,
while.
God forbid we do have fully autonomous driving at some point. This stuff should come after that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now we can just sit there and not do anything.
So if you're sitting there now, when these things pop up, and you can say, okay, car, you know, go to Taco Bell or whatever. Right now, it's going to come up and set. Oh, I got to pull in.
Right.
And you know, people are already distracted enough as it is.
And these cars are only half driving themselves.
Yeah,
In some
when you-
situations.
you have to still be alert enough.
Yeah,
to
you're
grab
like,
it.
there's 2 things you got to learn at once now, and it's like, I don't know.
It is. I look at when we announced our CES coverage on Facebook, and we had an article on there. A couple of the comments were, you know, do we? I just want a car that works.
Yep.
I just want to put the key in or press the button. I just want it to work each day.
Right.
I don't need all this extra stuff. Yes, some of you are going to be like, oh, fuddy-duddy, old person, whatever. But you know what? who cares what it can display on the screen if it's breaking down, if it's crashing, if it's freezing, crashing as the system's crashing. Right. That's a huge headache.
Well, and the safety part I get, when we get to the point, and this is still, a long ways off, because you got to, autonomous cars, the infrastructure has to be there. They have to be able to communicate with traffic signals. Right now, they still can't do everything that a human can do, autonomous cars, right? Sure. So, but what about those of us that actually enjoy driving? Right. That's what I think is being forgotten in this whole thing, is that some of us actually like driving. When I go on a road trip, I want to drive the car myself.
Right. Yeah.
I wrestle with that because I'm negative towards the autonomous driving stuff, but a lot of good stuff has come out of this.
Exactly.
This automatic emergency braking. I mean, that's great.
Yep. Forward collision warning. This all
stuff
because of the pursuit of autonomous
exactly.
cars.
And this is all good stuff, but I just it needs to stop somewhere, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, you still want to. I think that it's going to be just like, all-wheel drive will do this, or automatic transmissions will ruin that, or et cetera, et cetera. Right. Oh, ESC is going to hurt it. No, you still have all of these technologies that some of them you could turn off, and some of them have enhanced it. A really nice sequential gearbox is a fun thing to drive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not a stick, but not fun. What I want to get to about, you say, like in the future, is that we have something here.
Yeah.
A new car. The 2018 Buick Regal Sportback, which we just got in this week. We each got a chance to drive it quickly.
Quickly,
Ryan, you lead off. Give us some impressions on it.
It looks like a regular sedan, but it has a hatchback. I thought that was, at first I didn't realize it was a hatchback. I didn't know much about the car when we got it, and I saw it in the shop, and I said, wow, it looks like the last Regal, kind of, which, good and bad, I don't know. It's a good looking car, I think. So I drove it, the steering's a little wishy-washy. It was it's there, it turns. Yep. It rides pretty good. It's, I thought it was pretty good, nice car. It's got plenty of power.
It's a 2-liter turbo.
Yeah. No, it's. I was able to get comfortable in the seating position, but it took me 20 minutes to figure out how to open the hatch.
Yeah. Because you press the
I was looking around
on the back. You press on
it. It's like a
whack-a-mole,
and
then it opens.
I went out around the back to push the button. I couldn't. There was just the emblem. I went back in the car. I'm like, there's got to be a release somewhere. Go back out to the hatch, and now I'm like Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom trying to find this button. And I'm thinking Volkswagen, but you just touch it. It's electronic. You don't actually flip it.
Right.
That's the only way to open the hatch, I think.
The weird thing about that is that this time of year, when it's covered with dirt and salt and stuff, so you press on it, you're gonna get dirty. If it was more of a button underneath, like a lot of cars are, you won't get dirty. But I had the same thing. I was pressing it and I didn't even press it hard enough.
Well, there is an indent underneath the trunk where you think that they would have.
You can't get your fingers in there.
But you can't get your fingers in there. And then underneath, there's the camera, by the license plate, there's a camera and other plastic pieces.
Yeah.
So you're going to get dirty there as well. So it is the one drawback of having I'm guaranteeing there's got to be a button in there. I didn't look.
I didn't see it.
I would hope.
And there's nothing on the key fob. I was checking the key fob
too. We will figure it out for our road test.
So it would be odd.
My one mission is to figure it out.
If they have the kick technology or something, maybe. But you're right. That's weird. But that's
We're
a lot
getting into the weeds.
That's on the weeds. Yeah. What did you think about driving?
I thought it was pretty good. Interestingly, this probably will be the last Opel-based car that General Motors car that we'll have here, because they sold off Opel.
Right, their European subsidiary.
Yeah. Right. So that's kind of interesting. We have the 250 horsepower 2-liter turbo 4, and there's also a V6 you can get.
Yeah.
Our car is all-wheel drive. You can get front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. And I thought it drove pretty well. I'm not sure if it's quite as sporty as the last Regal, actually. Yeah, and I totally agree with you on the steering. I thought it was pretty vague. The handling's pretty good, but the steering kind of ruins it a little bit. Yeah. The ride is nice. The engine has really good power.
It's quick.
There's no complaints there. Yep. I don't think the engine sounds very good. Right. Yeah. But the sounds are pretty well muted. You know what I mean? It's not obnoxiously loud, but it doesn't sound great. It doesn't sound bad, but it doesn't sound like say an Audi Turbo 4 sounds good. This one doesn't actually sound good.
I found first of all, it's got a conventional shifter. Doesn't have that wackadoodle J shifter that Buick has.
Maybe that's our new name for it, wackadoodle.
It's wackadoodle, I think. It's with a whack-a-mole back and the wackadoodle shifter. One thing is, I never know where Buick is positioned, because you get in there and it's got some nice materials, but this isn't an A5 or A7 quality car. It has a lot of the GM switchgear that, like, the turn signal is a click. Like,
oh my gosh, the turn signals. Well, they just look old.
They're old style. A lot of the plastics, and that's kind of where it is. Like, it's the next level up from a Chevy, but it's not a Cadillac.
Right, but it's got like Malibu window
Somehow,
switches.
But it has the window switches,
Which
and those. This is a typical GM plastic, and it's just. I know economy of scale, but at the same time, you're not going to pull an Audi or BMW driver to Buick.
No.
Well, somehow Audi takes this. Audi used to have really fancy interiors, and then they went to more of a simplistic approach. But it still looks really
still
good.
Quality.
Somehow Audi does this simplistic approach right. I'm talking the center side. This
Minimalist,
Buick,
if you will.
minimalist. I'm not a wordsmith.
That's okay. We know you're just a writer.
So somehow Buick.
You're sad.
Oh, I saw that.
Somehow Buick, it just doesn't look as nice. It doesn't have as, it looks
There's
more.
a sheen to it.
Looks
There's
more
not-
boring than say an Audi or something like that.
There's just something weird there. It's just, and I mean, again, my dad has a Corvette Stingray, and you have that GM switchgear that just isn't applicable in an $80,000 car, and then you have
but you know
these
what?
other sedans that are above a Malibu, and it looks like it's the same stuff. And that's troubling.
You know what this car has?
What does it?
Four-way lumbar. So you know who that's going to really
Gabe's
make
gonna
happy?
love this.
Gabe's going to love it.
Gabe will love it.
Oh man.
Yeah, well, we're putting that through check-in miles. We haven't even gotten into any, testing miles. So, keep online on consumerreports.org, cr.org, and see how we'll have a first look, and we'll have some updates on it as it goes through testing.
We'll get back to you.
Yes, we will. We'll get back to you. This brings us into the final segment. Viewer questions. We've got a bunch of good ones.
Yay, viewer questions.
Viewer questions, yes, because we have viewers. We have some tire questions. We have some technology questions. I'm going to throw the first one to Ryan. Hi, my dad bought the latest magazine from Consumer Reports. In the tire section, he saw some ultra-high performance tires perform better on snow and ice than some winter tires in the ratings. Is that true, or do the ratings only mean the performance in their own category? Ryan, tire tester extraordinaire.
Okay. I know a few things about tires.
I've heard.
So I, after doing some research on this question, I checked out the magazine, and while I don't fully I understand the question, just because I only saw one ultra high performance all season tire that had a very good in snow and ice.
Okay.
Whereas every other snow tire is at least very good or excellent, and I think there was a few stinkers here or there. But either way, it's a good question for the general audience. Snow tires / winter tires, depending on what you call them, are generally much better on snow and ice than any all season, especially an ultra high performance all season, because these are tires now that have a lower sidewall, wider footprint, designed for ultimate grip in dry and wet conditions. So they give up even more of this winter traction.
Right.
So you have to drive in the snow, and you want a little more confidence. A snow tire is going to transform your vehicle.
It's like an Upper Peninsula, Michigan, Northern New
it's a regional thing.
But where all season you're just living in snow.
Right. I mean, go ahead, Mike.
Well, I would say it's even more encompasses even more of the country than just that, because you can't, it's one thing if you live, say, in this area where we do get snow, no question about it.
Yeah.
And if you have to be to work no matter what,
you're driving,
you got to put snow tires on in the winter.
Right.
You should. You're just smart if you do. But the other thing is, maybe you don't have to go to work when it snows, but maybe you were on a trip somewhere, right? And maybe you were up in Vermont, or maybe you were in,
Canada,
New Jersey,
for example,
or even New Jersey, and you're coming back, and you didn't know that you thought you were going to beat the storm back.
Yeah.
Well, now you're in a snowstorm with all-season tires.
Yeah.
Just on a personal thing, just the way I was brought up, my dad always switched to snow tires. Ever since we moved to Connecticut, my dad switches his car every winter to snow tires. My brother switches his Accord and his wife's Outback to snow tires. My sister puts snow tires on her Volvo. So it's just...
So you guys kept the snow guy, the tire guy in business.
Yeah, my mom lives in Vermont. She has to do it. So she has a separate set of wheels she puts on her Volvo wagon every winter. And that's, that's what I personally recommend. If you are in a snowy-ish area like this, New England, personally, get a second set of wheels and switch to snow tires, or just switch to snow tires, period.
I did that with my Audi A4 Quattro. Gabe, of course, called it suspenders and a belt.
Extra.
Because you didn't need
protection,
you didn't need to have both, according to Gabe. That's years ago. So I think the one thing is, the question is, you should only compare in our ratings tires within the category.
I want to get back to that. So the ultra high performance tires are tested 1 year. So we have summer tires all season, and then a performance winter tire, which It's basically a winter tire that just fits these low-profile, wide sizes for sports cars.
So you want to throw it on a 911
exactly,
or something.
Exactly. These tires are all tested that year on a certain vehicle. The next year we test the regular passenger all-season tires. So there'll be all-season, performance all-season, and winter tires that all fit a regular, like a Camry. These are all tested on a separate car. And then there's truck tires. The point is, tires are tested in different years on different vehicles. So you can't cross compare exactly category to category. But we try to show in the ratings that, generally a snow tire is better than an all-season tire on snow and ice.
Snow and ice, right. So for the answer to the question is that, they're in different categories.
Right.
They're on similar scales, but the winter tire is always going to perform better.
Yes.
A bad winter tire is probably going to still be better than many all-seasons.
Many, yes.
In grip.
Exactly.
A whole different topic now on warming up your car, because we talked about that in the last couple episodes.
It is wintertime.
It is wintertime, and it's been freezing here. Regarding the topic of warming up your car in the morning, comfort aside, how does driving your car cold impact your engine and drive components? What about wear and tear from poor lubrication when the engine is not up to operating temperature? When I fire up my Mazda 3 in the mornings, the car holds a higher RPM than normal for a couple minutes. I always assumed this was to warm up the engine.
Well, it's funny that the person talks about Mazda, because most Mazdas have like this little blue light that stays on until the car is warm.
The little water temperature.
Yeah. So here's the basic thing. When you really do want to fire the car up, let me put it this way. The worst thing you can do, especially when it's really cold out, is fire the car up and immediately throw it in gear and take off. Actually, even worse than that, fire it up, immediately throw it in gear, and drive it hard.
Right.
That's the worst thing you can do. Yeah. The best thing is fire it up, let it run for about a minute or so, and then get going and drive kind of easy on it until you see in the Mazda, you'd see the blue light go off, or you see the temperature gauge go up to about its normal operating temperature.
Right. You feel some warm air come out too, maybe.
You want to give it that first minute though, to just let all the fluids and everything, the oil, get through there and start its lubrication process. Right. That's what you really want to make. That's what that minute or so does.
But cold starting a car isn't going to hurt it. I mean, everyone lies in bed and they're warm, and the hardest thing is getting up and getting out of the bed, and then you get going. So yes, you turn the car on and it's designed to go, but like you said, don't throttle it like you're starting at at a spa, in a Formula One race.
And the other thing is, of course, you could let the car sit there for 5 or 10 minutes if you want. But you might probably notice when you go out there that it's still not up to full operating temperature. Right. It warms up much quicker when you
like we've said in the last couple episodes. Yeah, get out there and get driving and get the car going.
Right.
Although some people, you want to let it sit there for 5 minutes or so, so that it'll defrost the windshield. So you don't have to
there
do
is that. There's the defrosting windshield. There's also the mental thing of like, oh, it's just going to be warmer, right?
Yeah. As far as internal, I think he wants to really understand if he's breaking anything inside of there. And the worst thing you can actually do to a motor is start it, especially when it's cold.
So push your car to work.
Pop start it. Yeah.
Right.
No, it's if you can start it. You have to start it. Obviously, give it a minute, because nowadays it's pretty quick. I mean, the oil within 30 seconds, a minute is going to be fully circulated. I mean, it's especially when it's cold. There's all the oil's at the bottom. It's sitting there.
But you touched on that. That's the perfect reason to keep fluid levels up. Maintain them, particularly in the winter time, particularly in the summer.
Don't skip oil changes.
Don't skip oil changes. Don't forget about it. Don't sludge your engine.
Right.
Very important. Yep. Final question we're going to go to is technology. Do brake lights come on when the adaptive cruise control slows you down quickly? I have a 2017 Subaru Forester with EyeSight. Yesterday I came up on a slower car on the interstate with cruise control set, and I could feel my car slow down quickly. Car behind me came close to the rear of my car before slowing. So the lights do turn on. Yes. Ryan, you had a good anecdote, I'm sorry, Mike, about how you drive at night, and you checked it.
So sometimes you can see the glow from the the tail lights when it's dark, and I've come up on cars with that on, and slows me down and to go move over. But as you slow down from that, even this is the car in a distance, and this is the adaptive cruise is just bringing you down to
match their speed.
Yeah, and keep you the distance, and the brake lights come on.
And it's a safety thing, because and I've done some testing with a coworker. Do these things? What happens when it slows down like that? Because do the brake lights come on? And they did. Yeah. And the interesting thing about the Subaru though is with the EyeSight, you can have a screen in the instrument panel that shows your car, and when you put on the brake lights or it puts on the brakes, the little lights in the in the car, on the
little
car,
diagram,
light up. So then you know that the car is putting on its brakes, its brake lights, I should say. So,
yeah, it's one of the things you could scroll.
Yeah,
You got
so
mileage.
the Subaru is one of the few cars that
Right.
actually shows that when the car is turning on the brake lights and when it's not. So.
Right.
That's when I get mad though, because now my brake lights come on. The guy behind me is wondering why I'm braking and the car is still 100 yards in front of me. Then he goes around me, gets in front of me, and then I back up even further, and it's just ladder
That's
effect.
a whole other
It is the
adaptive
issue.
cruise control discussion that we need to have.
That's why I just gotta,
I just don't use it.
Well, on that note, that does it for this episode of Talking Cars with Consumer Reports. As always, we really encourage viewers to send us their video questions, so go to consumerreports.org/talkingcars and send us some video questions about things that you want to see or problems that you've seen with your car or just general questions. Also, check the show notes below to see what we've talked about this week. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.